Next email we have comes to us from Casey from Phoenix, Arizona. Howdy, guys. Been listening a long time, and from time to time when you guys speak about retro, you talk about the possibilities of building a retro emulator PC or doing something with it. Are any of you still into that or making plans to do so? Also curious, what is your stance on emulation versus the real cartridge/disc? Thanks. So this specific email here, and I skipped over one I'll read next, but this specific email here was the other reason why I dived into the RetroArch thing this week, because I was like, we got this email. I was watching that other stream where I was actually watching Jeff Gerstmann play. The reason I clicked on it is because he's playing Bram Stoker's Dracula. So I was like, yeah, I want to see that, because I've never played the NES version of that game. My only concept of that game is Super Nintendo. And I don't know if you know, but that game is wildly different on Nintendo, Super Nintendo, and Sega Genesis.
That's not an uncommon thing of the time, though. Like,
and also, it's also Sega. There's a Sega CD version too.
I'm sure that's even better.
So I would like to play all of those now. But like watching him play that, I was like, this is a wildly different game that I should probably investigate at some point on the NES.
Have the one for Super Nintendo, I swer. Yeah, I bought you that one for.
You did, yeah. Okay. I have a box copy.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, it's in the other room.
I swear, I remember.
We just found. We were doing some cleaning and found those boxes that had the cartridges and stuff. And we found the box copy of that Banjo Kazooie. There's a box copy.
I remember
of that.
when we got that one. Yeah,
that came out of a lot, but yeah, that had some of the box copies of games that I was missing and stuff that were in there. So that also is why the Castlevania behind me is on the shelf now, because it was in that box.
Oh, there you go. Yeah, perfect.
The big one. Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, as far as that stuff goes, like, I installed it to the PC that I normally use, and that's perfectly fine. At some point, would I look into like maybe having one of those like little mini PCs or whatever?
I'd like to get one of the
Raspberry Pi. I couldn't think of the name.
I don't even necessarily want one of those. I'd like to get like they make computers that are that big, and if that's all I'm going to be doing with it, that'd be perfect.
Yeah, absolutely. So, but I tried that the other day just to see how it would work, because I dabbled in the RetroArch thing once. I busted out my old 8-bit Do controller. I played a little Symphony of the Night through that emulator, and it obviously plays and runs really well. So I'm thinking about looking into that and like the retro achievement stuff, because we were talking about that.
Yeah, that's the thing I'm most excited for, is like getting achievements.
Really cool
in
idea.
Fucking Game Gear games is like the dumbest thing in the world to me. But
pretty cool though.
But when it comes to like physical stuff versus emulation, I love physical stuff as like a collector's piece, like a showpiece, and like just physically having something. But I'm all for emulation at this point, man. Who cares anymore?
At this point, I'm more for the emulation aspect of it if I want to play something, because save states, and there's a lot of quality of life stuff
some
that just
stuff you can't
doesn't exist.
You can't just go out and buy a lot of this stuff.
Yeah,
but at least not for a decent price. But if I can play it or preserve it or like have a copy of it forever, like think about this. Like, do you know who LGR is on?
Yeah, the guy that just had all the
he has like one of the coolest like PC collections of all time, rare big box stuff, all this stuff. His house just got fucking destroyed
because of the hurricane.
It's all gone. Like, this guy, we're talking like he probably had one of the premier PC collections in the world.
I'd argue, easily. He could easily open a museum.
Yeah,
let's put it that way.
Makes great content. It's always been good. But all of his stuff is just gone. And if you think like that stuff, your stuff can be gone tomorrow. Like, luckily I have this all cataloged and it's, and everything, but emulation protects you from this kind of stuff now. And
that kind of stuff too, it's like we're going back, he has like old versions of computers and stuff, like an insane collection,
stuff that doesn't exist and
stuff that is not going to be replaceable. He didn't, because I watched the most recent video, there's a chunk of his collection he was able to get, like it's okay, but there's definitely stuff that it's like, it was all never the water this again.
Yeah, the water destroyed everything.
I think he said most of his big box collection was okay, but there was a chunk that, because it's all cardboard, right?
And not everything was in his house, because he's got storage units and stuff too.
Yeah.
It's just, but emulation has a place in 2024.
It does.
And with how readily available it is, if you know where to get it. But the other thing is like, Nintendo and Sega, they every so often they catch on and a site gets nuked and then you got to wait for it to come back. But
yeah,
I don't see anything wrong with it anymore. Like if Nintendo's not willing to sell me copies of these games, what am I supposed to do?
Right.
Yeah.
They're not willing to put everything they have rights for out for sale.
No, and that's the thing too, is like they do semi-regularly like put things up on, if you have the Nintendo Online thing for the Switch, but like it's not everything.
Right.
It's a very curated like a extremely curated list.
But I also can't just buy that game. I have to have your service that you can turn off whenever you feel like.
Well, and then on the flip side of that, when you look at PlayStation, you look at Sony and what they're doing with those PS1 games, like most of the time you can buy those games for like $10, the PS1 to PS5. But every once in a while, they will lock one. Like recently, Dino Crisis came out this last week. That is locked to PlayStation Premium, whatever the high tier is.
It only costs $160, Kyle.
Yeah.
And you don't even and you don't own it.
Well, it also does have trophies, so that's why I was like, I'm out.
Right.
Because it actually looks decent. Like, it looks like a decent way to play that game. But yeah, it's a bummer that I can't buy that. Because all the other ones that have come out that I'm interested in, I've bought. So now I'm really crossing my fingers when they put Blood Omen out.
But we're also even talking about like instances like that. You buy in it. You're not buying it. You're borrowing it until they turn it off.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So
exactly.
That's another reason why I feel like emulation has a place, because this stuff is all going to be gone someday. But as long as people keep dumping stuff and we keep having, and plus emulation leads to like really crazy fines, like SimCity for NES. That game doesn't exist, but it fully exists emulated. I've played it. So like that's awesome.
Yeah, like every once in a while too, there'll be like maybe something that was canceled or something that'll come out.
You could have played Star Fox 2 before it was ever on the classic.
I was gonna say recently somebody found, wasn't like about this time a year ago, they found that Dreamcast Castlevania game.
Yep.
And they put out playable build of that. Yeah. That'll happen sometimes, which is really cool. Or depending on the region that you live in the world, you can play games that didn't come out here.
Terra Enigma
only out
for Super Nintendo.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So
it's stuff that like it's strange it never did because it's in English. So yeah, emulation I think now more than ever is just more and more important, just because
it is.
The more digital corporations get, we need to protect the older stuff.
Agreed.